time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wow, it's stubborn.
I got it.
Okay, who knows where your hands have been? Ew! That's too close.
Can I eat it?
No.
There really is something there though.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Is it out?
Yeah.
Did you get it? Okay.
Okay, so the real reason we're here is I'm pregnant.
Ah! Okay. Wait, what? No. No.
No.
No. You're funny.
I saw everything and you just like, this is a really good setup for this.
And I was like, I'm more mad that I have to sit out here and think, like, hooking all this stuff up on my day off just for you. Like, you could have come up with a way more simpler way to say it.
Okay. No, but so we have the book coming out very soon. And so I wanted to kind of give the viewers, everybody that's been following the story, you know, obviously there's like a lot in the book about both of us. But kind of just a little peek with your words into
It's always something with me.
the story. And in the book we talk about like funny moments as kids. I just realized I should have done my nails. Don't look. Funny moments as kids. Like that one incident.
That one.
And,
there's a lot of that ones.
yeah, when I kind of pushed you in the
Oh yeah, you put me in a and it really hurt.
You said that normal.
Yeah, I said that really hurt.
No, just like so kind of give like a little bit of, I don't know, maybe even an exclusive story for our watchers, something that's not in the book that you can remember that was kind of sticking out.
I think most is just like when I think about our childhood, I really just remember playing Barbies for like hours on end, and I know that's in the book, but like, and we said that's where our imagination like really stemmed from, but like just remembering our stories and everything. Yeah. Like we only had like 3 or 4 Ken dolls and like a bunch of girls, so we always had to like rotate. The poor guys. It's like one day he's like Prince Charming, the next day he's like robbing a place. We were
Harrison.
like, he's out, yeah.
Harrison was always a robber.
Yeah. We could like pop off his arms.
Yeah,
and,
you could pop his hands off.
Yeah, his arms, his hands, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had like our own little pizza shop. We would make like money. I remember making like a bunch of little like dollar bills and stuff.
We were very creative.
We didn't do those kind of stories. Not what you're thinking.
That was to buy the pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. Pizza.
Oh, do you remember when the slip and slide? I wrote that in the book.
Yeah.
When the slip and slide.
We were so excited about that, and it was a lot of money, like for us, like to spend on a toy, like you know, like I don't remember how much it was, but
yeah, it was SpongeBob.
Probably was a lot. Yeah, SpongeBob.
Copyright, so yeah. It was perfect. That square scrubby thing
that lives in a fruit down below the ocean.
The one thing I didn't put in the book too, it was kind of what was in lines, was remember when the
I don't know, someone's doing something. Spray painting something. Okay. Carry on.
When we got like a big bounce house.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was from Kmart. Oh, sorry. It was from a place that no longer exists, and they're all Amazon Prime places now.
Well, the copyright issues are crazy. But no, we had this big, like, it had walls and everything, right? And
it looked like it was like red.
It's like something you would rent from a rental.
Kind of, not like that big, nice, but it was like.
And we had it for maybe like what, a couple days probably, because that was kind of the top of it. Things only lasted a little bit with us.
Not long.
We weren't even like really. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we were pretty hard on stuff, but we were bouncing on it in the garage, and didn't it start like expanding?
I think so. I just remember getting really tight. We're like, we're just like, yay!
We're like bouncing, and then our bounce like
stops.
We kind of stop. And
this is how it ends. We explode and bouncing out.
I don't know if the heat from the garage probably made it expand.
Probably. Why were we in the garage? We had a huge nursery.
Well, no, because it had a fan. Because all those things have fans.
Yeah.
And so it must have been something wrong with the fan, maybe. But I don't know. But that thing blew up for sure. And thankfully we weren't on it when it blew up. I think we kind of ran away. But
I don't remember like a big like explosion. It probably just like a, and in our minds it was like this huge mushroom cloud. Like,
it probably was. differently.
Yeah.
Like the giraffe.
There was not a giraffe.
I swear there was a giraffe.
No, you had watched that one movie with that one kid that you liked. With those good actors in
But
it.
it's like not a first hand, but it's like the other hand. And
Yeah.
not tigers, but the other animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what put that in your head.
I think so too.
Watching that movie so much because you liked them. And then you're like, there's a giraffe outside.
I think whenever, you know, you go through like lots of tragedies, like we had been through, just like kind of like a shaky upbringing, that was our way of coping. I think was kind of hiding, you know, I don't know, just escaping those emotions that we really didn't understand too much, with fun like that, you know. And in the book I talk about, you know, kind of like that car ride, you know, from when we left Washington and came to Florida, and how difficult that was. And thank you for you, like you didn't really remember
much of
anything.
it.
Yeah. Did you remember any of that or no?
I remember sometimes it's hard to differentiate between like if it's just your actual memory or just the stories that you've heard. But like I do kind of remember a little bit like on the road and the incident with Dad, and then when he like his memory and stuff was kind of like checking out. Like I just remember having like a fish from a very popular child's book, and it was like a big deal to me to have this fish because we bought it at like a thrift store or something, and something about where he didn't remember that I got the fish, and I was like, Dad, like you were with me when I got this fish, like how do you not remember it? And it just like didn't make sense to me, and it just kind of like blew it over because I was like what 5, 6 around
that, I think.
Yeah, it was 2005, so I was 6, almost 7, I think. So just things like that to where like you notice it as a kid a little bit, but you're not a deep thinker yet, and so it just kind of blows over or whatever. But I just remember feeling like I could sense the stress that everyone was going through, and kind of just wondering like, why are we here? Why are we not home? Or why? You know, what's going on? Like, why are we having to stop somewhere? You know, like in California. And I do remember that earthquake.
Oh,
I remember that.
That was an earthquake. I don't know if I even wrote about that.
Mom was in the shower.
Got thrown out.
I don't know. That's terrible. I'm sorry. Okay. Dark humor.
When did you like kind of like start understanding like kind of what we like tried to keep from you? Really, we tried to keep Dad's condition from you as much as possible, and like, you know, because like me and Mom were living in a certain kind of, you know, fear of it coming back around, and so not wanting to introduce that early on to you. When was the first time that you remember like kind of being like, oh, like there's something going on here, like this is, you know, this is something that's not normal, I guess?
Well, it always was kind of like suspicious to me when like I would try to talk about it or remember things from like the trip to Washington, like that whole drive thing in the car, like what we just talked about in California. And I would talk about it and be like, well, yeah, I remember Daddy didn't remember the fish thing, or just something about him like not remembering. And I remember a few times you would pull me into the bedroom and be like, don't talk about that. And then one time you actually said, it's something all daddies go through. I remember you saying that to make it seem like it was normal. You know, that, you know, there is a lot of people I'm sure that go through it, but just to make me try to process it better, being like, oh, it's a normal thing, all daddies go through it. And not
I guess
just
I was pretty young. We were pretty young.
When you had said that, it probably, I can't remember if it was when, because definitely the biggest like realization for me about it all was the one in 2012.
Yeah.
Where he was working at the church, and that one, because I was old enough to realize what was going on, and I think it might have been during that time, like right before it or something. I want to say it was right before it. Fly, trying to make a appearance. But I think it was right before that or whatever, and but that one was definitely the most like, okay, like something's off here, something's not right. And then like piece by piece things started making sense about like, oh, that's why he didn't remember my fish, or like that's why we stopped in California and like this happened and that. And it kind of was just like I was and I was just like overwhelmed with a lot of emotions because I also felt like lied to more than anything, because I wasn't processing the whole, you know, y'all did it to protect me, and I wasn't figuring that out. I just took it more as a, like, I don't don't even feel included in this family because it was such like a deep dark secret that like I wasn't a part of. And I feel like, you know, as a family you should include everyone into these things, but like now that I'm older, and you know, it took me a while to kind of understand, like I completely get like it was for my own safety, my own, you know, like just upbringing with Dad, because it could have very well affected our relationship because I'm very close to Dad and I'm a daddy's girl, you know, so, you know, I'm grateful that I didn't. Now I'm grateful that I didn't know, because it could have possibly changed the way that I looked at him, maybe.
I know with me leaving, obviously that's when Mom and Dad both went through the hardest breakdown, because that was the first breakdown that Mom wasn't herself and Mom needed care as well. And so what was that like for you, like kind of, you know, taking on that whole role of like caregiver, you know, for both parents while I was dying, you know? Like you literally had Mom, Dad, and me all just kind of like fall off the deep end, you know? And honestly, looking back now, like it's really amazing that you were able to, because you didn't drive either by that, you know, by that time. Now you do. But yeah, so didn't drive, you know,
Didn't have a job, didn't have like...
Yeah, you didn't have an outlet, you know, so you were literally stuck with it. Like, just kind of give like a little bit of insight of like what you felt and what you went through at the time.
It definitely was more than anything like a helpless feeling. Like, I felt bad that, you know, I didn't have a way to provide, even though I was probably like, how old was I about when it...
Both of them? It would be like I was
17? Older than that? Timelines are, but I was young.
Mom didn't get super sick until after 2016, so it had to be after 2016. So 2017, 2018.
Yeah. So it either was like between like 17 and 20, or like 18, 19, or something like that, to where like I felt like I was old enough where I could, you know, obviously have a job, and just felt bad that there really was nothing that I could do to get one, because there was no card, or there was, but I didn't have like the funds or the anything to make those steps to get a license and all that stuff. So it was just more.
There's so much going on too. Like, how do you focus and really try to get your license or try to get
it
a job
wasn't.
when your world's
It was a
falling apart?
priority, but it wasn't. To where like I wanted it to be a priority, but I knew I couldn't focus on it, and so it was more than anything just like a helpless, stuck feeling. You know, not necessarily feeling abandoned by you, but just feeling that like separation and just hating it. Like, it wasn't ever something that I hated you for, or like blamed you, but it just was, you know, it didn't sit right, obviously. And but yeah, just more feeling like I want to do something and I can't. And then kind of like shutting off almost, to where like I've never had my own like mental struggles or anything like that, but just to where like with so much trauma and stuff that's happened, I do just kind of shut down and become numb, which we've talked about before. And that's almost like my way to cope, instead of like saying or like lashing out, like being angry, which, you know, I've done that route before, or like just being overwhelmed with emotions. I kind of just sit back and I'm like reclusive. I just kind of shut down, and I just remember a lot of times just being in my room, like, so just I remember going to my room, like dancing and listening to music, like just trying to do something fun to disconnect. But like never, and this is honestly like the grace of God, like never being mad at God, never being mad at Mom and Dad, and never being mad at you, because God really protected my heart in those situations, because I know for sure like the devil was trying to get me to be mad, because he knew that, you know, because not that I was holding everyone together at that moment, but I definitely did feel like that, because I'm like, I'm the only one that hasn't crashed and burned. Like, I feel like such a burden on my shoulders. Not that, you know, you guys are burdens, but just like the responsibility of the adults in my life that I had to take on when I wasn't yet an adult myself. You know, but it's definitely the grace of God that my heart didn't get hardened towards anybody, because if those bridges and those relationships had been burned, like between God, between you guys, like it would have been game over. And I probably would have been attacked myself, because I would let in hate and resentment toward the people that, you know, I cared about and that I was trying to help take care of. So more than anything, it was just like I keep saying helpless, but just a helpless, like trying to love you guys through it all. And also, like what you said, I didn't have the preparation that you and Mom had, and I started trying to learn those ways. Like you had your own lingo, with like looking at each other, and then you look at Dad, and then you look, and it almost was like it's a time, like it's time, it's whatever. And so I started becoming paranoid with that, to where even before or after he would have an episode,
you'd watch us. I
would just be quiet and like stare at you guys, and then because I didn't want to go through that again.
You were very scared.
And so I was very, very on eggshells for like probably a good year or two after the 2012 episode with Dad, because that definitely was the biggest one for me.
Right before the wedding, I remember sitting down with Dad on my bed, and he's kind of, this is when he was coming out of the breakdown, so he was kind of just like talking through things. And I remember telling him, like, you can't do this anymore. Like, you can't put Tearsa through this, because I'm not going to be here. And I had felt what you felt, that glue, like being that glue for the family. Like, there was times where, it switched from like, okay, I'm the kid now and I can have fun. Mom and Dad are functioning. But then, there would be times where like they'd take a back seat and it's like, okay, I'm the adult, and I've got to take this over. And I think you and I have both felt that multiple times in our life.
Yeah, there never was a like from the beginning. Like, yes, they're the parents and they were the responsible ones, but like there never was, I feel like, that title, I guess, in a way. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but like, we are the parents, you were the kids. Like, you're gonna, go to school, you're gonna grow up, you're gonna be the kid in this situation. It kind of felt more like we shared roles. For both, like, they shared the kid roles and the parent roles, and we shared the parent roles and the kid roles.
It was like a tag you're it type thing, I feel. When
like, I'm burned out, it's your turn now.
Yeah, like when they were strong, we could be like we'd be kids, we could have like that, kind of peace and enjoy our life. And then I remember I always felt that. It was like a relief. It was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, Dad's back at work. The baton now.
Yeah, everything's fine. And I'm glad, because if it was all like, If it was like one way or the other, like it would have been more difficult. We were able to be kids, sometimes, maybe not as much as normal kids or normal families.
In our own way. We found a way to...
Yeah, I don't feel like I lost my childhood. I felt like, I had a pretty solid childhood and all that kind of stuff. What I felt is hard, and it's still hard sometimes, because, like, this isn't something that is, like, in the past. Like, this is something that me and Tearsa actually, like, we go through, like, still. We still have a fear of, Dad having a breakdown, and Mom is still, kind of in a state where she's not who she was, So, in a lot of ways, we are kind of in that mode still, And when, Dad needs help, we're right there. We constantly help Mom. Mom's a constant help, or in need of help now. But with what I was saying that's hard is, turning that switch over is what I have a hard time with. So now, okay, Dad, you're where you can handle this. Here you go. That's what I struggle with. I still have a respect for Dad, 100%. But there's times where I have to turn off parent switch,
because we've been so used and conditioned to having
taking care.
Yeah.
So that, to me, I feel like that's actually like a really good thing that we have learned, is like still treating, our dad like he is the provider. We don't ever look at him as weak. We always build him up, and we're always, and I'll tell him all the time, I need you, because he needs to feel needed.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that, it's a lesson that we've learned, and we've kind of had to teach ourselves that, that whole balance of like, all right, now we're, now Dad's good, Dad's Dad, and kind of, really just learning to rely on him. It's something that we've done, and I'm very proud of both of us for that we haven't just, all right, he's Dad, he's there every now and then, like we do need him, and we let him know, that we love him and appreciate him and all that. And I think that's really important for him too, because that's what keeps him, trying to stay, like, in a good place.
It's
like
it's
my
a
kids
reason
need me.
to live.
You can't just kind of coddle, you know, that and be like, Dad, you okay? You okay? You know, like we don't do that. It's just whenever those situations come up where he needs us, we're there. But we're also there saying, hey, Dad, we need you in those moments too, because that's how he comes out of it. You know, because you never want them to, anybody that deals with mental health issues, you don't want them to feel like a burden. You know, you want them to know, hey, I need you to get back, like, I need you to get up and get to work.
I think that it's fine that they just stay in that state that they're in.
Yeah, they kind of become
stagnant. They become comfortable in it.
Right. So with all that being said, I know we talked a lot about mental illness, but I feel like that's really important. You know, I went through my own breakdown, which is in the book. It's in the very back of the book. So part of that plot twisting chapter, which nobody sees coming. But when, kind of talk about just your feelings too really quick about when I finally kind of lost it. Because I felt like you and I had this connection, obviously since we were kids, you know, really strong. But then like, I think, you know, you were already dealing with me physically, like dying, you know, and then I want you to talk about that too. And kind of like what was going through your mind and what were you feeling and how you coped with that, whether it was the numbness or however you felt. But then when I finally lost it, and you know, you were the closest one to me during that time. You were right beside me when I literally just had that breakdown. And without giving anything away of what the story is and why, just kind of like talk about your feelings during all that, the whole back of my story basically. I want you to kind of sum up in your words.
For me, it was more of just like a disbelief. Like it was really hard to cope with, to where it almost felt surreal. To where I was like, you know, you were someone that everyone looked at as being like so strong, and it wasn't really something that, you know, we talk about preparation, like preparing for Dad, and you know, we were blindsided by Mom, but with hers it was kind of like a slow, you know, decline that we were able to prepare. With you, I felt like it was someone that I didn't have to worry about because you had been so strong and you never really had like a mental like breakdown yourself. You know, you'd struggle like here and there with things, but like it never was like as big as it was. And so it was something that, like I said, I didn't feel like I had to worry about. So when it happened, I just was like blindsided by it, and it was, like I said, disbelief. Where I was like I don't feel like this is real because, you know, she is so strong. Not that strong people, you know, don't go through things they go through the most, because they're so strong because they've been through so much, you know. It's not what I'm saying, but you definitely were someone that I didn't expect that to like happen to or to worry about. And
did you feel like kind of alone, you know, like as far as all three of us now? And were you scared too that like that you could, you know what I mean? Like, did you think it was genetic? Did you think?
I mean, I did, but at the same time, I had faith in like myself and my own like mental stability. Like, I've had my own things and I've struggled with it. You know, like anxiety, a little bit of depression and stuff here and there. But I've never worried that I was gonna have these breakdowns. Of course, like I feel like that the devil would like put in those lies and those whispers of like, oh my gosh, like you said, it's genetic, like it's coming for you next, and then like
that's what I was
there goes your whole family tree just like burned down. So in a way, I kind of, but it was a double-edged sword, I guess, and to say pros and cons, because I felt like, oh, like this is gonna end with me, like I will not let this continue. And so that, and that gave me like more of the strength to say like this is not gonna happen with me, because I've seen what it has done to my family, and like I'm not gonna let it continue on. So that kind of like gave me a strength to not let it affect me, like with you guys, but also not to let it affect myself.
Yeah, my whole story is like about faith and like believing for healing. But at the same time, it's like when everything else looks like, all right, this is probably it. I mean, my lungs were like stopping, you know, and my heart, like, my body was definitely just like past the final stretch, it felt like. And so I think that was what, in the end, kind of like, obviously there were spiritual things going on, but just like the body was dying, so now the mind is dying. It's kind of what it felt like. But still, you know, believing, that's what's so crazy, is still believing in the hope that this wasn't the end when it was obviously the end, you know? So what did you feel, you know, whenever that was happening? Like when, you know, it did look like the end, basically, for me.
it basically was just a huge trust exercise. Trusting God, trusting you that you were going to be strong enough to like pull yourself out of, because at that point we'd kind of done everything that we could do. You know, when someone is in that mental state, you can only do so much, and it's on them at that point to pull themselves out. So it was a trusting God thing, but it was also like a trusting you that you would pull yourself out of that.
So book is coming out. I don't know what camera to look into, maybe that one. But yeah, my story continues. The book is coming out. We can close it out like this, like an old Nickelodeon show. And that's a wrap.
That is a wrap.
Right? Thanks for joining us for Coffee with Sisters.
It's been real.
And that's a wrap. And that's
Oh my God.
1, 2, 3. And that's a wrap. You guys say say and.
Your shoes undone. Okay, ready?
Say, and that's a wrap.
Okay, ready?
And that's a wrap. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
And that's a wrap.
Only took us 12 times.
12 million.